If I can find myself, we are live. I don't see myself. There I am. There I am. Okay, and let's see. No, in the chat replay. This is the one. Okay, so now we are live. Hello, I'm trying to relive the summer with a screencast. Um, let's see what it looks like and how it works, and whether it lets anybody learn a little bit about what we're all about. So let's let this loop, and hopefully it's going to loop properly um, the second time around. Otherwise, you're going to see some of the crap on my desktop. Um, Let me start by saying hello, everyone. Hey, lady. Yeah, I just saw you over on Cloud Kicker and his birds. I liked what he was doing. Actually, that gave me the, I guess, confidence or the to try this screencast. Um, Again, the last time I tried it, it didn't work very well because the video player wasn't working properly. Hey, Wild Seven. Yeah, this is reliving a little bit of the summer. Um, it's a screencast. It'll be a loop of about a 7-minute loop. And pardon me. This part that we're at right now, you can check to see what the volume is like. Yeah, I can hear myself. We're just leaving the marina for a 3-hour cruise, as they said on Gilligan's Island, and AI ladies. So this is in Toronto, in a marina by Tommy Thompson Park. So it's basically right downtown, a little bit to the east, and there's a big park on one side, and a very rugged park. It's very natural, bike paths, hiking paths, a lot of animals, a lot of birds, and it's a nice place to visit, a nice place to walk, a nice place to bicycle. It was really a dump of all of the stones that came out of the um, subway tunnels when they built the subway in Toronto in 1950. And this it was a garbage dump for many years, and then trees started growing, and it was turned into a park. And my boat is in a marina right there. I think we're going to have a little bit more of it again later on in this loop. This is a marina downtown, in downtown Toronto. This one is called Marina 4. It's right next to, I guess the most famous place is next to the Amsterdam Bar. Um, Excellent fish and chips. That's the thing I like best there. And of course beer. I don't drink a lot of beer, but it is a beer joint. And in the summer, it's a wonderful, lot of people, a little bit of noise, a lot of tour boats. So Toronto has touring sailboats, touring motorboats, a number of ways to get out on the water if you don't have your own boat. And of course, a lot of people have boats. So in this marina, it's right across from where people live. So people live there, and then they go down with their boat, and it's like a private marina next to a condo. So it seems to be a great way to live. I don't live right downtown, so I have to drive to get to my boat. But it's pretty good. This marina we're looking at now, coming up, is a little bit to the west of the city. It's actually a yacht club, and so it's private. I have never been inside, but this video is taken from a park right next to it. It's in a place called Mimico. Yeah, I think it's Mimico, Etobicoke. So a little bit to the west of Toronto. A wonderful place. So now we're back to downtown Toronto. It's great. We'll let it just run for a few minutes. And today was a very warm day here. Yesterday we had a snowstorm and ice, freezing rain on the back deck. And now, today, we had 21 Celsius, which is about 75 Fahrenheit. And I went down to the beach for a walk, which is not that far from my house. And you almost feel like you're going to have a sunburn. That the weather was so beautiful. So here we are coming out of the marina again. I guess we've had the whole 5-minute loop has looped around, and now we know for sure that the looping works properly on this. Let me see if I can. It says I can edit the video. So let me see if I can change the title. Just be talking about sailing. Let's see what that is. Talking about sailing. Let's see what that does. And let's go back here and see if we're still in the middle of our, yep, so the heading's been updated. And hey, DJ Salute, is it DJ Salute or just DJ? Thanks for coming to my live, talking a little bit about Toronto sailing, and this loop is sort of revisiting last summer and also some of the places that I've walked to looking for a video about boats and sailing in Toronto. So we've got a lot of good stuff here. Trying to screencast to see it's more interesting than just looking at me, and it makes me think a little bit about how great summer was and how great it's going to be. The boat goes in the water in 4 weeks, I guess. So it's coming soon, and I'm glad that the snowstorm was only a one-day episode. Otherwise, we'd be waiting for. It's interesting that somebody asked me what the sail number was of this boat, and it has no sail number. It has the model, the Hunter 320, but there's no sail number on there. I wonder why that is. Have to check to see if I even know what the sail number is. It's somewhere in the owner's information. So the things you learn over the years about what your boat does and what your boat doesn't do. And Yeah, so this is downtown Toronto. This is a wonderful marina that people, I think people that have boats there go more to be seen than to see. Some of these boats seem never to move, but people enjoy them and they sit on them and some sleep over. There's a few liveaboards on in this marina that people live basically their boat is their house. And in the winter it's a bit too cold, but the rest of the time it's a great way to spend some time and get some fresh air and listen to the sound of the waves that everybody loves. So it's uh, it's a great way to spend time. The as it starts getting warmer, I have to start thinking about uh, some of the repairs I want to make to the boat. The problem with the stove right now, so in some of my cooking for recipe purposes at home, need to figure out what the problem is with the propane system. It seems to be seems to leak at some point, but I didn't leave it on long enough to try to find out if I could determine where the problem was. So we'll go through one fitting at a time and put some soapy water on it and see if I can see bubbles where the gas might be coming out. The boat has safety equipment in it. There's a propane sniffer, so if it sniffs propane in the boat, then it will shut the system down. Of course, you never know if it works until it either blows up or you smell it and then the smell goes away. So, not something that I want to take a lot of a risk with because it's yeah, fire on a boat is a bad thing. I've seen a few boats that have burned. I've never actually been close to one. I was watching TikToks of a boat that blew up in Florida this winter while they were putting gasoline in it while they were fueling it, and either somebody was smoking, which is really stupid, or it was a motorboat. So motorboats have fans or blowers that blow all of the gas fumes out of the engine compartment, and the idea is that you, as the captain, run this blower to blow out all of the gases. Hey, Paula. Thanks. Welcome to my live. Angelic Alchemist Mother. Yes, you finally. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. So, just talking about sailing, and this is a repeat loop of some of this summer's adventures, both on the boat. This is and watching other people in marinas. I don't understand the banana story, so somebody has to one day explain to me what a banana is, because I see people offering bananas and people getting bananas. I saw somebody today that was offering 1,000 bananas. Might have been you, Life of Paula. Somebody was offering them bananas, and no idea what that's all about. So I'll take a banana because bananas are good. Don't actually have any bananas at home at the moment. Just while we're talking about food, so I was out shopping for groceries, and a while ago I did a mango salad with mango peeler machine. Doesn't really work. It's a gimmick. But I wanted to try a Thai mango salad. and I've had a few of them. I did a lot of photography for Uber Eats, and I did a lot of photography for one Thai place in Toronto, and they made a wonderful mango salad with mango and pepper and some other vegetables, and so I want to try recreating that. Um, and it is a recipe that works on a boat because mangoes and fruit keep without it necessarily having a fridge. So I just want to try something here. Why don't I see? Okay, so in the screencast, I don't see the chat on the phone. I only see it on the computer. So did I ever fix my boat? No, I have not yet spent time on it. As I had said earlier, we had a big snowstorm here yesterday, and yesterday there was 3 or 4 centimeters, 2 inches of wet, slushy snow, and it was freezing. Um, so I didn't go out yesterday at all. Today was so nice. I went to the beach and spent some time there, just sitting in the sun. So the boat is needs some attention. Um, it there's really nothing wrong with it. It just needs work. It needs painting. The engine needs an oil change, and I guess there is one thing I discovered that over the winter, one of the batteries lost a little bit of power, and that power. What happens if I push this button? Where do I get I don't see. No, I don't see that. I don't see where I can see the chat on the phone. That's weird. Oh, pardon me. No chat on the phone. That's really weird. Pardon me again. So anyway, so the one battery, the boat has 2 batteries. One battery went down to 10 volts over the winter, and the battery is probably about 20 years old, so it's probably time to replace it. But like everything on a boat, it's expensive, and I will have to start looking to see where I'm going to get a replacement battery, because I don't really want to be out on the lake and have a dead battery, and then the motor won't start, and then what do you do? So it's a sailboat, so you mainly get around with the sail, but to get into the marina, to get into the dock, still requires a motor. I'm not good enough to sail onto the dock. Hey, Camping Cage Tree, nice to see you. That was a nice live you did yesterday. Love the cows. Grew up in the country, but mainly around Holsteins. This area is a Holstein area. Maybe some Herefords as well. And I remember once close to where we lived, there was a Guernsey farm as well. So welcome to the live. Anyway, so I was just saying one of the batteries is getting old. It lost some of its charge from over the winter. Yeah, there are several boats like this in the marina, exact same ones, or not exactly the same, but same manufacturer and somewhat different. Hey, Hail G, how are you? Fishing. Yeah, you've got some really nice videos there, Jose. Thanks for coming to my live. So the challenge with the battery is really to find one that's inexpensive but still good quality, because everything that has the word boat on it costs twice as much as the same thing if it's just for a car. And if the challenge is just to get a battery that fits into space, sort of all fit, but to get a enough capacity to Tracy's. How are you? Get enough battery capacity to keep the boat alive, and even though some of my cooking is aimed at boats that don't have fridges, we have a small fridge, and we do want the fridge to keep the drinks cold. There's not much else in the fridge. Um, yeah, Jose, I haven't gone fishing in a long time. I did a lot of fishing with my father, and now I discovered this year, I'm an old guy, I discovered that old guys don't need licenses anymore. So just the aggravation of getting a license was holding me back. And I think this year we'll troll the line off the stern when we're not moving too fast, and see if we can catch lunch. These cage-free, these are downtown Toronto, so that's the Toronto Harbour, and some of them are me sailing, and some of them are me looking at other people's boats on land. Um, this is my marina. This is us going sailing. So I'm sort of reliving some of the summer and getting ready for this summer, and sharing some of the. But it's beautiful scenery. Once it's warm enough, I'm going to think of doing lives off the back of the boat, and just go from there, and basically watch other boats and the seagulls and the water, and where we are. Every once in a while we'll get the fish jumping, especially with sort of in the afternoon. We'll start getting bugs close to the water. I'm pretty sure they're carp, because it is a carp area. I remember once I tried to feed them, I tried to throw something out, but the fish weren't. The fish weren't biting. No, Traces. This boat has never been in the ocean. Has never been in the ocean, to be honest. The only ocean sailing I did is in the British Virgin Islands area, and no whales, no porpoises, flying fish, some flying fish, which was impressed that they actually could fly. That's as close to wildlife as I've gotten on a boat. That's not totally true. Once chartered a boat in Vancouver, from Vancouver Island, from Qualicum, and sailed back and forth across the Georgian Strait. I think it's the Georgian Strait, or Strait of Georgia. And that was nice. The bigger thing to avoid there was tugboats towing log booms with very long chains between the tug and the boom. Yeah, camping. There are a few boats that look like cars. I guess it's the thing. I don't know. I think that might have been a Lamborghini going by. Whether people buy boat, I guess they're basically superstructures that match their own car. um, or that matched the car that they wish they had if they had a couple $100,000 to spend on a car, but they spent it on their boat. So there's several that like that going by. Hey, Danine, welcome to my live. Um, and why do people have boats? It's something to do, and there's the people that like motorboats and the speed and the sound of them. And I guess if you had a motorboat that looked like a car, then you'd have the ultimate um, convergence of boat and car, and yeah, you see people going by. You'd almost think that it's something that somebody would create a car rally or a car race or a car boat race or a boat car race. But yeah, there's several of them. The first time I saw it, I looked and said, what is this? It's and it was in deep water, so it wasn't like somebody accidentally dove into the lake. It was people going for a Sunday cruise on their boat car boat, whatever you call them. There were amphibious cars in there. I think I still may have seen one. I remember one, I thought it was based on a British Vauxhall. So this would be like 20, 30 years ago. I remember seeing the propeller hanging out of the back, and they floated. I haven't seen any in a while. Not in this area anyway. I know there's in Toronto there used to be an amphibia bus. There was a bus that floated, and it had propellers. And I think there was one in Ottawa, and the Ottawa one sank. And there was a big concern on whether it was supposed to be managed as a boat or managed as a bus. And the tourist officials were a little bit upset that they almost drowned some tourists. I don't think anybody got actually hurt, but it was in the news at the time. But here in Toronto, the one bus boat moved on to somewhere else, or because there are enough tour boats for visitors and people that live here, maybe there's no advantage to having a floating thing that looks like a bus. I guess the biggest advantage is you could do a tour of some of the other sites, and then the bus could take off and drift around in the water for a few minutes to see what the city looks like from the water. It doesn't excite me at all locally. And if I was in, there's that car boat coming up. I don't know what it is. I'll have to. This year when they're in the marina that I'm in, there's 3 or 4 of them. We'll talk to the people that run them and find out a bit more about them. See if we get some video of them. If they mind being on YouTube and my video as opposed to somebody else's. A lot of birds. That land that you see right now behind the green buoy is Leslie Spit, and it's infested with cormorants. So cormorants are a seabird. They're throughout North America anyway. As far down, they're down the Mississippi, and I think they're in Virginia and somewhere on the East Coast. I don't know if they go to the West Coast. And they are a small bird, maybe 2 feet, 3 feet wingspan. Very dark, very black feathers. You see them diving, they go underwater for 5 minutes before they come up again, and you wonder where they've come up, so they manage to hold their breath for that amount of time. But the problem is they proliferate, there's thousands of them, and they eat all the vegetation off the trees that they're on. So that area that they're on, all the trees in huge area around them. Hey, Lucy Warrens, welcome to my life. Huge area is totally bare because the birds have eaten all the leaves. And birds, of course, do bird poop. And theirs is apparently very toxic and sour. And whatever leaves they don't eat, they kill. And because there's so many of them, the ground is covered in bird poop, and nothing else will grow there. Nothing else wants to venture there, and all of that stinks. Oh my God, it stinks to high heaven. And if the wind is blowing in the wrong direction, you don't want to sail, you go through there. So we sail through this every once in a while, depending on where the wind is blowing. And it is the worst smelling thing. I guess cage free, if you're still around, if you're in farm country, you have chicken farms. So chicken farms that have caged chickens have thousands of birds in a barn. And of course, chicken is like other birds, poop, and it has to go somewhere. At least on a farm, it gets collected and composted and sold off. Okay, Tracy, thanks for dropping by. We'll see you again next time we do this and try to track down your live. So yeah, it's wildlife, but is it ever wild? The Cormorant area is just west of where we are, and this area, like many areas in North America, has westerly winds because of the way the earth turns. But the wind seems to blow it to the south of where our boat is, like a mile to the south. So we don't get anything unless the wind is blowing at a very particular, let me say, southwest area angle, and then it is noticeable. And then again, it's wildlife, and it's not much to do about it. I know in Michigan, there are big programs to cull the birds. There's a bounty on them. I don't know if they taste good, but people do hunt them. I've heard that they're very fishy because all they eat is fish and seaweed. But so do ducks and geese, and people eat ducks and geese, and I've had them and they're quite enjoyable. So maybe that's the solution to some hunger and too many cormorants is hunt them down and turn them into free meals. I'm going to let this just run for a second. I've got to take a small break myself.
And we're back.
Creatures of the Maroon Lagoon. So we've got a lagoon here. It's not maroon. The cloudy day that this is was all recorded. And I hate taking pictures when the sky isn't nice and blue. But it actually looks better on the phone than it does on my computer, and probably looks better than it did in real life because it's a little bit bluer than we're used to. So the it's I like all my videos, I like all my photography on a nice sunny day. What's interesting is that Adobe has improved their software. So here we have a nice blue sky. Has improved their software to make to sky replacements, and they're pretty realistic. They haven't figured out how to do sky replacement in Premiere Pro, but I think CapCut does that. And of course, all the AI video undertakings will do that as well. So here, for video, I guess you just have to wait for a nice day. But the thing about waiting for a nice day is sometimes you don't get a nice day, and you still want to get out because it's summer and you don't want to waste it. So back to, I was talking about a mango salad earlier because I was shopping and I was thinking of mangoes. And I really want to try this Thai mango salad that I think I'm going to improve a bit by adding cooked shrimp, very cooked shrimp. And that will be, I guess, that'll be my dinner tomorrow. So it'll get posted in the next couple of days, and we'll see if anybody thinks it's a good imitation of Thai food. Creatures, I haven't fished in years. When I was a kid, when I was a boy, we've always lived close to the lake or close to the river. My father did a lot of fishing. He fished for food. It was food. But we would catch perch, bass, largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, catfish. He was not a fan of carp, although all the areas we lived in there had been carp. And I don't 100% know how you avoid catching a carp if you don't want one. I remember one of the most interesting fishing experiences. He and a bunch of other guys from his factory would go down, this is in Hamilton, would go down to the pier in the lake at night with the big dip nets and gasoline camp lights. So they're really, really bright. But I don't know if they're bright to attract the fish or to avoid falling into the water. And they would just dip smelt out of the water. So smelt is 10 inches, 20 centimeters, kind of small fish, the size of a large sardine, I guess. My mother would fry them, and they were so good the way she did them. And I haven't found any this year. We do get them in the stores here. But as I said, I just discovered this year that old guys like me don't need a fishing license in Ontario. And I am going to start trolling a line off the back of the boat, and we'll see what we catch. Lake Ontario has big salmon competition, derbies. Hey, drill and chill. Salmon derbies. People catch 20, 30, 40 pound salmon. Um, that's in July, I think, usually. So I'm not interested in that size of fish or that sporty an undertaking. My objective is simply to catch something that I can cook on the grill or on in the frying pan on the boat and sort of be one with the water. And oh, so you're in the Wisconsin Drill and Show. I've seen you, but I never figured that part out. So we'll see how the fishing works. Maybe just tie a line with a lure off the back. Maybe actually get a cheap fishing rod and make it easier to set the hook and haul them out. Whether I buy a landing net and not hoping to catch anything big enough to need a landing net. And it's just one more thing to get in the way, I guess, of all the other stuff that's hiding on the boat. So, but yeah, hopefully I do want to do that, and I want to do it really for the purpose of catching lunch. So my limit would be 2 fish. That's lunch. Or 3 if I've got company. I was watching a couple other people's fishing lives, and I'm impressed that people can manage 4 or 5 rods and not lose the fish on the other ones. So I guess they're not biting on more than 1 rod at a time. I do remember when I used to ice fishing with my dad, he put in 2 or 3 holes, and we'd end up with 2 or 3 lines ice fishing. But ice fishing, you're so close to the hole that you're not going to miss any activity. And if you have a tip-up rig, then you'd see the little flag would start waving when a fish came by. And there we mainly catch perch. So Lake Erie was a perch. It still is a perch haven. And the perch were 8 inches to 10 inches, 12 inches. That would be huge. I never see that. And they were they were so tasty. There's people do go trout fishing here, but I've never heard of it as a thing. Now, there's a lot of ice fishing in this area in Lake Simcoe. So Lake Simcoe is an hour drive north of Toronto, and it freezes up pretty well. And there's a big ice fishing industry there with rented huts. We never had a hut well. We had a big sled that my dad made with a little bit of windbreak on it. And in midwinter, I guess really mid-February, we would drive out on the lake. Never went through, although, again, as a kid I was scared every once in a while when I'd see water on top of the ice, and you'd hear this moaning, groaning sound as the ice is cracking, and you're wondering, is it going to get me? Is it going to get me? But it never did. And those are good times, It's freezing cold, and when you're a kid, you go where your dad says, right? You don't ask questions. You assume he knows what he's doing. And we did okay with it. My mother had to clean it. That's the downside. There's no interest in throwing it in freezing out in the middle of the lake in the middle of the winter. So that's hope where fishing is going. Now, once you get started, it might get like everything else that we undertake, you get more and more interested and more involved, and the next thing you know, we're going to put downriggers on the back of the boat, and it's 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 like a boat. I have 2 foot items. You have a boat, and suddenly you want a bigger boat. And there's no real justification for it except why not? It Yeah, ice rumble sort of has an actual word. I just know it as noises. It's sort of scary also is when there'd be water on top of the ice. And I've seen TikToks of cars getting stuck in a crack in the ice. We never had that. Although I do remember once we got out of there in a hurry because the crack was forming. Now at that time my dad drove a Volkswagen Bug, and it is said that they floated, but nobody wanted to really find out. And even if they did float, they still want to get home, right? So it was fun times. It was good. Never fished. Oh, that's not true. The only time I ever fished in the ocean, we were in Nova Scotia, and we're out on a sightseeing boat kind of thing. It was a fishing boat, working boat, but it was really taking tourists out. And they did have lines, and we caught a couple of small mackerels, maybe 15-inch, 16-inch, and the camp we stayed at, so it was a camp of cottages, and they had hibachis and charcoal available. And I do remember we gutted those mackerels and split them in half and put them on the grill. And mackerel was not really the tastiest fish in the world, but they tasted so good being outside. And I think that's the only ocean fishing that I've ever done. Yeah, I mean, mackerel isn't a game fish; it's food, right? Here comes that car again. I don't want to stop it. I think it's the Lamborghini, but I don't know for sure what that guy's deal was. A lot of ducks where we are, so I try not to feed the seabirds because bread and all that stuff that you feed them isn't good for them, and to some extent don't want them to decide that they want to camp out in where we are. But we got a lot of ducks. There's a bunch of swans. So and swans are huge birds. Up here, one of the swans, I think it's the trumpeter swans, are a protected species. And they are tagged, so they have yellow tags, so some government official can keep track of where they are and whether they're multiplying or not multiplying. And the other swan we have is a mute swan, which isn't mute, but apparently the difference is the beak has one more bump or one less bump than the other. People who know birds will know that. So you see a bunch of them, and they are so majestic when they're sort of floating by. And all you see is a body floating. You don't see the feet working in the water, propelling them. And they're so majestic and so tall. And in the winter, most of the lake freezes up, but I found an area where there's the outflow from a electric power plant that doesn't freeze over in the winter. And that area is full of ducks and Canada geese and swans. And they all seem to get along with each other. Every once in a while, a little bit of hissing, a little bit of pecking at each other, but they all seem to get along with each other. And I spent time there watching the birds, and I've never seen seagulls get in amongst those birds. So either the seagulls know better, or the other birds do drive them away. I guess seagulls are low in the pecking order of birds. Hey, stitching it up. But never any seagulls mixed in with the ducks and the swans. Yeah, and never the cormorants either. So I don't know where the cormorants go in the winter. I don't know if they stay here or if they fly south and stink up Virginia. I guess that's worth investigating, worth knowing. In the summer, we'll see flocks of them, 30, 40, just skimming a few feet off of the water, following some leader. Never figure out who the leader is or why. But they all seem to follow it. And you never see them dive down and catch something. Whereas if you see a flock of seagulls, every once in a while, one of them will break away from the flock and head into the water and catch lunch, and then the others, of course, will fight them for it. Never see that with cormorant. Never see that with Canada geese either, because Canada geese will be migrating in the next month. So we'll see flocks of them following a leader. But where we see them is just on all the lawns and the sides of the roads. You're not supposed to run them over or slow them across the road. Everybody stops and lets stupid gooses go by. Yeah. The other bird that we see there, and this comes from just before this. I was looking at flight picker's birds. You get a lot of swallows. Now I've tried taking pictures of swallows, but swallows fly so fast that they you can't get a focus on them. And this is with a real camera. With a phone, it'd be even worse. And they're such graceful birds, and they swoop around, and I guess chasing bugs. We see a lot of them. The other bird that we get, now that we're talking about birds, is the red-winged blackbird. The red-winged blackbird is a blackbird with a red shoulders. The males have red shoulders. The females, the shoulders are sort of brown, you get sort of a yucky color. The males are always more colorful, and they in this area they nest close to the water, so at the waterfront in several places. I think last live Tracy's was talking about Music Garden. The Music Garden is a place downtown Toronto, right next to one of these marinas, not the one that we just passed, but the marina. It's called Marina Key West, and so these red-winged blackbirds will nest, and they will protect their nest. And this Music Garden area by this marina? No, it's not this marina. It's going to come up later. I'll mention it when we see it. They will protect their nests. And what happens is the male sits in a tree waiting for some human to come walking by, and they will dive bomb them. They will attack shoulders. Um, I've heard people with less hair get attacked on the bald spots, and they hurt. They're not very big birds, but I guess they get up a good rate of speed, and their beaks are sharp, and yeah, creatures, belligerent or protective or whatever they are, they 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 they're a force to be reckoned with. So if I'm going through these areas, I have a hat on. I avoid them to some extent. So this is coming up now, right after this. This is Marina Key West. So this is by this music garden, some of the downtown condos. A fair number of liveaboards. And I said earlier, people don't live in the winter, but that marina does have bubbling. So if you want to spend the winter there, people cover up their boats and have a bubbler, so basically it's a compressor that feeds air under the boat so that the bubbles will prevent ice from forming. And either because of the water at the bottom is a bit warmer than the water at the top, or if it's because the air bubbles are making the water move, that keeps the boats from getting crushed by the ice. Yeah, I have creatures. I have seen red-winged blackbirds that try to attack dogs. Most dogs seem to move faster. It's humans that are so slow moving. Then, but yeah, they're vicious. Belligerent is a good word for it. One assumes they're protecting their turf or their nest, but I wish they wouldn't do it so diligently. And besides, I don't want to have their eggs. I'm not after them, so leave me alone. Pick on somebody your own size. Looking at that sail reminds me I have to get one of the reefing lines fixed properly this year to be able to make the sail a bit smaller if it gets really windy. And the boat came with that kind of rigging, but it was undone by the previous owner, and some of it I'm trying to put back. The other thing the previous owner did, the previous owner was an engineer, a telecommunications company engineer that had the boat on the Ottawa River, and he spent a lot of time living on it. So he had solar panels charging his batteries, and everywhere I look inside the hull, I see evidence of his solar system. So there's regulators and there's cutoff switches and wires that go nowhere, and some of the things look like homemade circuit boards. Again, the guy's an engineer in a communications company, so one would assume he knows which end of the soldering gun to use. And I'm looking at some of the stuff and wondering if I take it out, what's going to stop working and what's going to short circuit. And it sort of goes back to where I started talking about needing to replace one of the batteries. And thinking that when I do that, I'm going to go through there looking for other things where there can be current leakages. So he's got, I think there's 4 different regulators that are part of the solar charging system. And possibly one of them is starting to leak current backwards out of the battery back into whatever. So we're going to try to track that down. I know originally the first year I had it, I was getting strange discharges, and The boat has a car radio for, for, for music. And the car radios, people that have car radios, like having the buttons telling them going to each one of the stations. So the stations are, the way it knows the stations is there's non-volatile RAM that keeps the frequencies, but that needs power. So all of these things, car radios as well, keep a lot of current draw that powers the radio even when it's turned off, or even when the power is off, or in the car the key is out, the ignition's off. And I wasn't that interested in knowing and having my buttons working. And then and tracing current from one wire to another through fuses, and suddenly discovered that this radio, even when it had been used, is drawing like 50 milliamps, and which by itself isn't a lot of current. But if the boat's closed up for 3 months in the winter, that is a lot of current. So that was one of the first things that I undid. So now my buttons don't work, but that's okay. I can always tune in whatever station I need if we wanted that. And then at one point I went and bought a better radio because I wanted a bigger radio. But in the last, I don't know how many years, all we've used is our phones with a Bluetooth connection to a boomboxy kind of speaker. And the speaker sounds good. Keep any playlist on the phone. Don't really use Spotify because out in the water there's no Wi-Fi, so then you're paying for data. So all the music is copied onto the phone, and that's our source of music. Like a lot of, like Jimmy Buffett. I've always liked Jimmy Buffett. Been to see him 3 times, I think, in Toronto. And it's a nice beach. It talks a little about sailing and ocean life. It's Florida oriented to some extent, but that's okay. That's a nice place to visit, and a nice place to think you might actually be in. So we're quite happy with the Jimmy Buffett music. Unfortunately, he passed away, so there won't be any more Jimmy Buffett concerts. I mentioned last time when we went to one concert. So he in Toronto, he always played at the Ontario Place Forum. Budweiser Stage, I think, is its current name. The name changes every few years when a different sponsor comes up. And we got there by boat. We went with somebody else's boat. We got 8 people that were going to the show, and there's a public tie-up close to there. So he tied up his boat and walked over to the stage, listened to Jimmy Buffett going on and on about the Southern Cross, which is, of course, is a Neil Young song. Southern Cross and Havana Dreaming and Cheeseburger in Paradise. All kinds of music that makes you think of sailing, especially if you listen to it in the winter. In the summer, it's just nice because it's there. And he unfortunately passed away. But the thing is, and he had fun, it seemed. He died of melanoma, which is skin cancer caused by the sun. But his whole life was being in the sun. And if you got to go doing the thing that you love, better to burn out than to rust, I guess is the expression. So that's my thinking on Jimmy Buffett. maybe when this live is over, we'll play some Jimmy Buffett. We'll play some now, but then we'd have copyright issues, and YouTube would be after us. So we won't play any Jimmy Buffett while we're listening to some water and some seagulls that got lost in my computer. So back to cooking. So the next recipe that's going live will be another take on hash brown potatoes. And I realize now that I had a bit of clickbait because I called another video hash brownies, and only after it was all finished did I realize that hash brownies have nothing to do with potatoes. But then it became too tempting to change it. I left it there. But in Toronto, there was a restaurant called Movenpick. It's a Swiss restaurant that had a variety of cuisines, but some of their it's a Swiss chain still, I believe. In Toronto, it's turned into just a fast food joint. Hey, birds and bugs, welcome to my live. And but I do remember some of the things that we had at Movenpick. One of them was chicken liver on toast, which my mother used to make for me. So that was really good. My wife and kids, they thought chicken liver was gross. But the other thing that was there was a thing called roasty. The roasty is thinly sliced potatoes that are fried up together, almost like a potato pancake, and then served with a variety of things. So I recreated that a couple of weeks ago, and we'll be talking about that should go live tomorrow, and it's. In this recipe, I've done it with eggs, so eggs need a fridge, but basically potatoes and oil don't need a fridge, so they're easy to make on a boat or an RV or camper that doesn't have a fridge, or that doesn't have a lot of fridge space in the cooler. So it's at one end, it's like a McDonald's hash brown. But McDonald's hash brown is highly processed and covered in some weird coating, and I can taste them for like 5 or 6 hours afterwards from whatever is in the deep fryer. But that's where we're going to try to go with the next recipe. And then if I do the mango salad for myself for tomorrow, may even, depending how warm it is, may even actually cook that actually on the boat, see how warm it is. And it doesn't require the stove to be working, so I wanted to solve the problem with the propane stove. So that might be a more authentic boat food. And then I don't know what we're going to do after that. Something with shrimp. I love shrimp. What is it that Forrest Gump said? Shrimp, you can have it in so many different ways. And it wasn't wrong at all. But we have no shrimp in this area. What I did see on the beach today is we have zebra mussels. So zebra mussels are little tiny mussels. They're invasive. They came in the hold of a ship from somewhere in Europe, I believe. We blame a lot of stuff on ships from China, but We don't get Chinese vessels into the Great Lakes ever, if I'm correct. So somebody from Europe brought in some zebra mussel, and when they flushed their whole, the bilges, they dumped out these little creatures. And so they're very small mussels. They're about a centimeter and a half, not quite an inch. And nobody has figured out how to eat them. Again, there's fear that the water is maybe not that good, and mussels absorb all of the toxins in the water around them. But they do grow in the intakes of waterworks and other places. I remember once I had a rope hanging off the end of the dock all winter that I'd forgotten about. It was a ratty rope. And when I pulled it up in the spring, the whole thing was covered with zebra mussels, in the same way you'd expect to see real mussels on a rope. And where they affected me directly is I've had them grow in my engine cooling water intake. I don't know why they like that. Maybe because it's warm, or maybe because it's a hole in the water. Yeah, birds. This is. I'm running a loop. I'm trying this screencast thing because it's more interesting than looking at me while I'm talking. This is from this summer, either sailing off my boat or this particular green boy I was on land at one of the marinas, taking pictures of boats. Not my boat, but boats anyway. That looking out, that green boy looking out, is at Toronto Harbour. Now we're back to my boat, leaving my marina, heading out for a 3-hour cruise. So these zebra mussels, I found a bunch of them on the beach. I sort of thought they had gone away, and they obviously haven't. If they're washed up on the beach, of course, then they're dead, and all of it is shells. But the shells aren't even pretty. The ocean mussels, when the shells wash up, at least they're pretty looking shells. These are just gray, roundy things. But they remind you of some of the sea life that comes up, and stuff that washes up over the winter that you don't see because nobody's on the beach. And in the winter, of course, you get the big waves washing stuff up, and it doesn't all get washed back in when the wave recedes. One thing, I don't know if it shows up in this clip that we're watching here. There's a sunken ferry boat. No, it doesn't show up. There's a sunken ferry boat that I assume was sunk to create a reef. Now, we don't need reefs in this water here as much as people need in the oceans for sea life. But I guess somebody decided a good thing to do with this old ferry boat was to sink it. And I didn't know it was there until I found it on Google Earth. Scrolling around, I said, "Oh, what's this?" And it says sunken ferry. The seaweed, we don't get that much seaweed. That's not true. In this marina, we don't get that much seaweed because the water is deeper. We're about 12 feet. Where I was previously, we were at 8 feet. And in the summer, late summer, there would be huge amounts of seaweed growing up from the bottom. So this would be, I don't know which version of seaweed it is, but sort of Christmas tree looking, branchy kind of stuff, not kelp. And it would grow from the bottom, so 8 feet to the surface, and then create big messes on the surface. So the problem for me as a boater is that when you go through this, the seaweed wraps itself around the propeller, and very hard to get off. There are people sell a thing called a seaweed cutter that goes on the propeller that cuts all that stuff off. If you're not running the engine as you're going through this cloud of seaweed, then it doesn't wrap around the propeller. And I found to some extent that if once you're out, if you reverse the propeller for a minute, it then unwinds everything and it falls off. And people that snorkel can of course jump in the water and cut it off by hand. I'm not that water friendly. This is why I have a boat. I have a little saw on the end of a long pole that I can reach under from the swim platform and cut all the stuff off so that it doesn't then prevent you from motoring after. And the stuff is strong. Like it's a weed, but it is very strong stuff. So that's the only kind of seaweed you really have. We have algae that sticks to things and it sticks to the boat. And, because the boats come out of the water in the winter, then we pressure wash it, and that washes all that off. There was a paint that was made that is protective in that way, and the seaweed wouldn't grow on it, algae wouldn't grow on it. And this paint had a lot of copper in it. And the people that make decisions about that sort of stuff made a decision 2 years ago or 3 years ago that it would no longer be legal. And I think it was banned in most of the states. It's an American company that makes the stuff. This coppery stuff is banned because too much copper is leaching into the water. The way it kills the seaweed or the algae, the copper leaches into the plant and kills the plant. So copper is apparently not good for you. Yeah, in Florida, I remember once we were in Key West and south side. So if you're heading out towards Key West, and then you're driving back to the mainland. So if you're driving out towards Key West, again, the left side, so it's the south side of the Key. Wall to wall, pretty bad, smelly crap coming right up onto the beach. I've seen that also in Cape Cod. Only once or twice over the years. And that would be mainly on the bay side, not on the ocean side. And I assume that's because the water is warmer and there's no current. So the stuff has a chance to put down roots and grow and make a nuisance of itself. But we don't have kelp. We don't have any of the big, really big stuff. And in the marinas, there are harvesting methods either on a boat, almost like a combine, a farm combine that runs in the water and pulls it up and cuts it off, and then you see it in big piles on the docks and it dries out, and then it's garbage, so it's gone. That's the only issue we have with seaweed. I think once I had seaweed sucked up, a piece of seaweed sucked up inside the engine coolant, and it plugged up something, and that made the cooling system unhappy for a couple of days as well. So it's something that once it happens to you, you think about it, and you don't really know that it's happened, but if suddenly the water isn't flowing properly and pooling water, then you say, oh, I wonder if I got seaweed or a zebra mussel. At least seaweed is soft. Zebra mussels are hard. And if a zebra mussel gets into the water pump, then that's going to destroy the impeller. So there's supposed to be a strainer that traps all this stuff. I haven't seen anything in years that might cause a problem. But yeah, it's part of sea life. We're pretty protected, so there's no really bad things. There are no sea monsters where we are. We have no seals or walruses trying to attack us. As Tracy said a while ago, there are no whales bumping into our boats. There are no sharks. I don't think there's anything that would eat you where we are. No piranhas. So we're in a pretty safe area from that. The worst I've seen enough fish I mentioned a couple of days ago was I remember catching a catfish as a kid, and it was smaller, and I wanted to grab it by the head. So I put my hand around its head, and it expanded its gills, and its gills had a very sharp spine on them, and that stuck into my hand and made a hole, punctured me. No, not enough that I got affected, but it hurt. And, I let him go. Now, he was already caught, so he wasn't going anywhere, but he got one last battle out of it. Yeah, boys, got to learn all the rules of the road. What does a green buoy mean? What does a red buoy mean? And we don't have as many buoys as the Florida coastal, for instance, has. We basically have the red and green. I guess we have the red and green, red right return. Keep the red buoy on the right-hand side when you're heading back to port or heading upriver. We do have fairway buoys. I can only think of one fairway buoy, which is sort of a buoy that you can go on either side, so you ask yourself, well, why bother having a buoy to tell you that you can go on either side of it? And we have keep-out buoys around the airport to keep us away from areas designated for airplanes and not people in boats. We didn't have a lot of wind today. The wind was very nice. It was maybe 7 miles an hour, 8 miles an hour. So 8 miles an hour was 10 knots, which is the perfect weather for anything much less. The boat doesn't move, so it gets warm. And over 50 knots is constant white cap, and it gets scary. Now, we sailed in the Virgin Islands, and the typical wind speed there would be 50 knots. But it was not unpleasant. I've never sailed off the California coast, but I've been in Marina del Rey and the beaches in that area, and they have a constant 15, 20 knots. And that's what they sail in. Birds and bugs, no. I've never been bit by any ocean fish. I've never seen a shark. I spent many winters many winter weeks in Florida, in Fort Lauderdale, and in Miami Beach area, and I've never actually even heard of a shark coming up. I think now there seem to be more sharks than there was. So no, I never had any fish that could hurt me. I have done a lot of video work with a guy that is a scuba diver, and he writes about sharks and has a blog about sharks. I think it might still exist, Blood and Bubbles. Steve was his name, and he did a lot of shark videography and shark photography, and would occasionally, often, find himself with shark, and he never got eaten, of course, because he's still with us. But he says he has been afraid for his life from time to time. He eats no fish. He says there's karma, that if you won't eat the fish, they won't eat him. Now, I don't know if the fish know that, but in his mind, this is his way of striking a bargain with the ocean wildlife, that if he doesn't eat them, then hopefully they will not eat him. I follow a woman, a girl on YouTube called Lauren Landers, who teaches diving with sharks. A wonderful channel, sailing over Fort Lauderdale and into Bermuda. And she talks a lot about free diving with sharks. And her videos include photos of the sharks that she's seen. And she's still with us, last I looked anyway. God forbid that I'm jinxing her. So she's never got eaten either. Yet somebody somewhere wanted to take a selfie with a shark, or wanted to put her hands out. I think it was a woman, Miami, off Miami. Wanted to take a picture of a shark, put her hands out, and the shark decided he'd bit off her hands. He didn't want to. He wasn't ready for his photo opportunity. I don't have any huge desire to come face to face with a shark. I believe everything I read about them, except the cartoon Sherman's Lagoon. I love Sherman's Lagoon, and it's about two cartoon sharks and other sea life. And the last 2 days of episodes, Taylor Swift was filming a music video on the beach, and the female shark wanted to watch because she's a Swiftie. And far-fetched and doesn't make any sense at all, but it was cute, and we chuckle, and so how does the artist, the cartoon artist, the cartoonist, conceive of some of these plot lines? Why would a shark be interested in Taylor Swift? But then again, sharks don't talk either, but they're certainly talking. And that comic strip. I'm probably going to bail out in 10 minutes. It's an hour and a half. I like this. I like watching what I'm watching while you're watching it. I'd like to see me. For the next time, we'll find different sets of clips, string them together to make a background. I do want to see the face of the people talking, although other people just play the video and don't talk, and still people chat and get acquainted. It seems to be a thing. Sort of interesting, and this sailing YouTube has only been with us since the summer of last year, and I've tried to nurture it. I have another YouTube channel on Canadian art, Canada Art Channel, that started out as basically a place to post interviews with artists and musicians, and anybody that created things. And that ran for about 10 years. and then it, the relationship with the people that were promoting the change, so I've ignored it, and it never really grew. But I also never spent any time nurturing it. So maybe that was a mistake. But I'm no longer connected to the art community here, and it's just going to stay as an archive because many of the people, I guess, on that channel are no longer with us, and I have some of the last interviews that some people gave. There's a photographer there, there's a writer. I think there's a couple of musicians that aren't there. And I guess if you don't nurture something, it just sort of grows or just sort of just sits there. But it did generate a bit of attention. The objective with this is to get rich. Let's monetize this. I need more followers. I've got hours. Let's get Google to pay for my boat. That's really my objective for some of this. Or to just get acquainted with virtually, vicariously, with a bunch of people with interesting lives and interesting tales. And spend the time creating some of this stuff, which is art as well. It's the thing is, I've been creating videos since 1990, about a digital camera in 1990 for one of these art projects. And I still learn something every day, and still marvel at what other people do, and they seem to have caught on much more quickly, much more effortlessly. But yeah, birds and bugs, I enjoy watching and learning. And I tell myself and I tell other people that I learn something every day. I'm not 100% sure yet what I've learned today. But I'm sure there was something. Maybe it was the zebra mussels on the beach that I had thought they had disappeared, and suddenly they're there lying on the sand. Maybe it's how to use this screencasting in YouTube to communicate as a person, but also to share places you've been, and relive them sort of for yourself at the same time. Not in that marina, but just saw the last boat go by there. It reminds me of another boat that I knew of a guy that had it. He had a hot tub in the boat, and the problem with the hot tub is heating the water. But my boat, when the engine's running, the waste heat from the engine also heats a hot water tank, so it's not enough to fill anything, but it's warm anyway. But yeah, he had a hot tub in the boat. It was a 30-foot trawler, so there's a lot of room in a trawler. It's a very square boat, power boat, cruiser, and we got a lot of enjoyment out of that hot tub. And I think they've sold it now, so I'm not sure what their next boat is going to be. No hot tub on our boat. It does have a shower. So at the dock there's a hot water heater. And it didn't get hot water at the dock. Let me say when the engine's running, half an hour, then the hot water tank heats up from the heat of the engine. The cooling water from the engine has a loop that goes through the hot water tank and heats up the water. So it's a 25-gallon tank, so it's not very big. Um, I can't visualize it being 25 gallons, maybe 5 gallons. Yeah, maybe 5 gallons. So 5 gallons is not a lot of water. I use it mainly for washing up. I use it for washing the boat. The yeah, you meet interesting people. You meet interesting perspectives. It is an interesting world, and it's an interesting way of reaching out to people, and they come together by accident and spend an hour, and then they're off into other lives doing other things, and then maybe you bump into each other again in a couple of days. Will you ever meet anybody in real life? Probably not. I mean, some of the people that have subscribed to me are people that I know, but I'm meeting before this. It's a virtual world, and yeah, you come across people that have interesting stories and interesting forms of art in terms of what they're sharing with the world. What else can I say? I'm going to, as I wrap this up, I've got to look at where the edits for tomorrow's recipe is. It needs a bit. Hey, Wandering, how are you? Thanks for coming. It's go look at the recipe for tomorrow's posting, and make a few edits to it. I watched it sitting on the beach on my phone, and some parts I thought were a little bit too long. Although I ended up watching somebody with an Indian lady, Indian food, and she spent 20 minutes talking about using rosemary for tea. And the process of making rosemary tea seemed mainly to be put the rosemary leaves in some hot water, let sit for a while, and there's your tea. Yet she found enough to talk about for 20 minutes. And I didn't watch the whole thing, but I watched much more than I thought I was going to. Because once you get hooked, you do want to see what's going to happen next. And you do want to see what you might have missed if you skipped over some of it. So it's sort of an addictive kind of thing. I know some people's lives, I just watch them and move them to the side on the computer and watch the chat and listen, or if it's a silent live, and just watch the chat. So there's not a lot of investment in time, but it's there, and if something pops up, then you click on it. So I think I said Wandering with William, thanks for dropping by, but I'm going to pull the plug on this so I can do something else. It's almost 11 o'clock our time, and that's sort of it for the day. So I'm going to say aloha and figure out how to put an end to this. Let's see. Pull down on this. No. Not sure what happened there. There we are. No. Okay, that's clean. Okay, I think I just lost the sound. seem to have lost my contact on the phone. Let me see if I can figure out what's going on here. How do I turn this off? There we are. Now, how do I... Okay, how do I... There's my live control panel. Okay, I wonder how I lost that. I'm going to press the X. See all